Everybody, hey, this is Darren Williams with 12 More Keys with another episode of Chop Talk. And today, we have a phenomenal musician in the house today who is actually nationally known well as a great producer. Now, we don't want to take up too much of your time, but you got to check this one out. Now, with that being said, before we chop it up, make sure you please like and subscribe to this channel. Come on now, let's chop it up. Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, this is Darren Williams with 12 More Keys, and we got another episode of Chop Talk. Today on the line, we got our good dear friend and brother, Dana Davis. Say what's up, everybody.
What's up, everybody? I am being told what to say.
Hey, man, thank you, first of all, for coming on the show and just hanging out with us today, man. It's been a long time coming. Actually, you've been one of the premier, I would say, drummers, but shoot, musicians of our time. And I know you a humble brother, but give honor where honor is due for sure.
That's what's up. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So first of all, I always like to start the show off by finding out, hey, look, how did you even get started in the music industry? Like, where did you even start? I'm like, lessons, who was
music industry or becoming a drummer or a musician?
Becoming a musician first.
Oh, okay. Playing drums since I was 3, raised in a family of 9. Everybody is musically inclined. And my mom and dad recognized my gift. So, 2 major things happened for me at the age 3.
Mm-hmm.
I started playing drums and my dad dying at 3. Wow. And so with that being said, my mom pushed me and she kept me involved in music. We're going to a church, Derek, United Temple.
Yeah.
Raised there after leaving my uncle's church, raised there. And that's where I got my start with playing drums. Yep.
Gotcha. Now, I know from growing up, our church is fellowshipped all the time because we were in the Church of God in Christ and stuff. So,
right.
But I know we kind of developed somewhat of a relationship. I knew you because of your brothers taught me how to play, and Derek. Right. And by the way, this is my co-host for the day. I didn't want to forget him. Derek is in town. He's from the ATL. It's my brother. We've been rocking together for a long time, over 40 years. Is it over 40
right.
years? Yeah, it's been over 40 years.
Look, all 3 of us.
Right, exactly.
Because that's the interesting thing I was thinking about yesterday, because me and Dana was talking, is that how we all met.
Right.
I met Darren because I was taking lessons from your brother, from Willie. And then I met you the same way. So it's like, it's funny. we've been friends for over 40 years. We've been friends for over 40 years.
Yeah.
And we all got that common connection from the Davis Music Academy.
Right.
Right. Right. Wow. That's what's up. Yeah.
I remember even your sister Gail. I remember playing at one of the conventions, and it was a long time ago. We had a youth sport to be like a youth choir that she was over at the cathedral down at on Jefferson, and she was one of the directors, and she would encourage me and Damon, like, y'all got this, y'all can play, and y'all can just, you know,
that's good.
and I was like, wow, you know, so your family has always been inspirational in a whole lot of people's lives, you know.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we watched you just inspire so many, you know. You got to talk about your journey with how you grew up and end up playing for the Winans.
So that journey, well, we all grew up playing in church, all three of us. My attorney Derek, you know, get ready, Derek. So we grew up in church. That was the beginning of the journey. Starting to play instruments, that was the next start. At United Temple, it was filled with musicians. And so we had a guy there that played the drums along with my brother Jeff. His name was Randy. They were doing all the playing the drum. So I really never got a chance to play like them. So I moved to playing the congas. And then I think that's when me and Derek linked up when I was playing congas. And from there, we was playing at the studio. And so coming to the house, we trading and shedding and everything. Now, so I was getting a lot of my rhythms and grooves from playing congas. And so then when I got a chance to play the drums, I started playing everything I played on the congas on drums. And from there, I started working out more and playing more and getting more experience, getting yelled at by my brothers about what I can't play and what I can't play. And so, you know, the beauty in my story is I never started at ground level zero. My brothers was at the top of their game. So when I came into playing, I went straight to the top playing with people who already had experience at where I was trying to go. They were there. So they took me all the way. They took me there. And so what was happening along with that, then they were having rehearsals as they were teaching in the studio, the lesson school, the Winans was coming over there having lessons. And I mean, not lessons, but rehearsals at my brother's house and at the studio. And so my brother said he was leaving. My oldest brother was leaving, moving to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm trying to make this as fast as possible. And then he told Pastor Winans, Bishop Winans, hey, yo, take care of my brothers when I leave. And so from there, it was them saying, take care of my brothers, trying to take care of me and Jeff. So Jeff was already playing with the Winans. And so I don't know what happened. They had other drummers. They didn't work out. So Jeff told them about me and said, hey, I want you to hear my brother, check my brother out. So I went into rehearsal. Everybody mean mugging me because I'm a kid. You know, everybody in there grown and I'm just this child just coming in looking like David and all these Goliaths in the room. And so I got down, I got in there and I played the songs, knew the records. I played them like the records. I gave them everything they said and everybody went across around the table saying, what y'all think? He got the pocket. His pocket is tight. It's nice. He's just a kid, but he got the pocket. And so from there, they gave me the job. And that was the beginning of my history or my journey with the Winans. And from the Winans, then you know everywhere else. It just took off from there.
Right.
So from playing the drums with the Winans, it then turned into the Winans started spreading out, doing their own thing. So Pastor Winans was preaching. I had started playing the keys at the age 12.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Yeah, I know you were playing, but I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then as I was growing playing the keys, my mama would take me to different churches and play with youth departments. And so that was giving me the opportunity to expand at playing piano. So along with that, then when I got with the Winans, Pastor Winans started traveling and he was like, come go with me and back me up. And so I was his guinea pig. He was my guinea pig. So, you know, I started playing organ with him. And then when Ron Winans started traveling, I started playing organ and drums with him. So that was the journey of playing drums to playing keys to then expanding my wings or spreading my wings, going other places as a musician. At the beginning of my journey, it started with the Winans at the studio, learning, getting it introduced to them through my brothers. Yeah.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, I remember being at lessons and Willie talking about he would get them calls from the Winans and he would just pass it on to his brothers.
Yeah.
I guess he was just too busy, didn't want to do it.
Right.
I remember, man, way back then, and I'm saying, dude, we had to have been 13 when we met, and you was already sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You was already a beast. I remember, dude, that was around, it was that Call Me song that had the crazy drum part to it. It was that song, 777-9311. I remember walking down to the church because the school was down the street from the church. We walked down to the church and then they're messing around in the drums, man. And it's like you was already light years ahead of the rest of us then.
Yeah. I was keeping up, doing my best to keep up with my brother and Randy because they was like killing the drums. And so in order to get my opportunity to play the drums, I had to be at that level of playing.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know what I was doing. I just like to play. I was like everybody else. Yeah.
Was your father a musician as well?
Yes, my father was over the choir. My mama was over they were running the choir together. He was teaching parts. My mama was playing the piano.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so they kept us involved in music. And so, he never got the chance to see me do what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's crazy, man, because it's a parallel between your family and the Winans family, because it was 9 of y'all and 10 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of them sing and some of them play instruments.
Yep.
And your family full of singers and people that play instruments.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. The Clark sisters as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Now I know you've done live recordings with so many people, and namely, I remember Thomas Whitfield and so many other ones, man. And I sit back and think, I'm like, these are legends, like that you've actually worked with, man. So it's a blessing to be that young and playing with legends like that, So
yeah. So again, even with that, when I got with the Winans, I never started at ground level zero once again because they were at the top of their game.
Right. Yeah.
So everybody I played with was already at the top of their game. So everything I was learning from them was at a high level of expectation when it comes to what they're looking for in musicians. Mm-hmm. So even with Tommy Whitfield, I got to give shouts out to Kern Brantley because it was because of him I hooked up with Tommy Whitfield.
Mm-hmm.
And so he allowed that door to open. And so between the Winans and Tommy Whitfield, I was getting so much experience when it comes to this is how you play when you play with a choir. This is how you play when you play with a group. This is how you play when you play with a solo artist. You can't bring the same mindset to every entity that you play for. Wow. It's different, and it's a different approach to it. And so that was the beauty of everybody I played with. And, Tommy opened doors for me and opportunities for me to play with Aretha Franklin, Douglas Miller. I mean, that's an endless list of people he exposed me to and how they play music. Mm-hmm. Then the Winans opened up a whole nother door that opened up opportunities for me to play with Vanessa Bell. Between Thomas Whitfield and the Winans, I was playing with Vanessa Bell. That's an endless list, man. I can't even go through. But then Michael Brooks, Michael Brooks opened up a whole nother door for me at what it sounds like playing with a female group. Mm-hmm. You have to approach music differently for everybody you play for. And so even with Mike Brooks, he was at the top of his game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so shouts out to him. And, he opened my eyes to how to approach production, to how to play drums for different groups in production versus playing live. The same with the Winans exposed me to that. Tommy Whitfield exposed me to that. And so from those three alone, I learned so much about playing drums to playing keys, then getting into songwriting, understanding production, when it's too much, when it's not enough, when it's too wordy, when it's not the right words. They exposed me to a whole lot of stuff. And then along with that, you get to experience all the good, bad, and the ugly of everything else that comes with music.
Right, that's true. And I think you said something very important too, because I think a lot of times with musicians, they may just approach every group or every artist the same way. And they come in just like, okay, I'm just gonna play this the way I played it. I'm gonna play this way all the time. But like for certain groups or certain artists, you may not be able to play that way. Some people don't want you going all out of their pocket, or they don't want you doing all that. They want you to just play just these parts. Other people may want you to stretch out a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's real important for, to even, for musicians to even understand, to know that.
Yeah. And so along with saying that, the culture was different. So the culture didn't require for drummers to overplay like it is now. The culture is overplay because that's what's working for the music that we're picking. Back then you had singers who were musicians, and they hear the music the way they hear it, and they play with organized music, and they want it to breathe. And so they hearing the full production in their head of how the song should go from start to finish. So a lot of people back in the 80s and the 90s were a lot of musicians, and they like, this is how the song gonna work. They already see the song and how it's gonna work in their head on stage live.
Yeah.
And this is how it's got a vibe. And so, and right now you have this culture where there's a group of people who needs that energy to push the song. And most times it's because of the lack of energy or ability that the artists have. So they build their music around them. They build it with the musicians around the artists to bring life to the song. And then you have that whole other group who can't play music and they keep everything simple and they play to the track.
Right.
And so, it's no bad way, it's no right or wrong way. It's just understanding the culture you in when you play, understanding who you playing for when you play. That's who works. When you come not teachable, you don't work. But if you can come and adapt to every situation, you will forever work.
Yeah.
Ask Calvin Rogers. Yeah.
What's up? I think about like growing up, like in church. I think one of the things that like when we used to come to your church, or United Temple rather,
yes,
man, we used to be intimidated. Like, I don't want to play in front of them. I don't want to play in front of Dana. I don't want to play in front of Willie. And even though it's not a competition thing, but still, it's just like you always want to do well in front of your peers. And it's just like, I don't want to be. So we was always intimidated coming over there. But
wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that. I was just enjoying being around people, because I'm a people person. And so I was always in the place of I'm learning, and that's the danger. And so this is where my attorney would come in with some biblical principles. I think sometimes, a lot of times, we are forced to compete against each other. As opposed to embracing the scripture, the body is fitly joined together. Yes. And when the body is fitly joined together, you recognize how we need each other. So there should never be no competition between each other. Everybody say competition is good, but I ain't see that in the Bible.
Right.
Competition is good.
Right.
It's being fitly joined together to set an atmosphere that would invite him into our presence. And when we move from that and it's all about competition, then we miss our opportunity as playing as one.
Right.
Because now it's all about, let's get this showcased on. Let's showcase what we can do. And now we missed the moment at what could happen in the spirit realm, and on stage, the experience we have with just playing together with singers and, changing the atmosphere of the room. And so I think that needs to be taught more. And that's what I learned playing with grown men or seasoned musicians. They didn't let you get wild.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's the difference between me and a lot of other musicians. Like even when I play sometimes with Fred, seasoned guy, you don't get wild with Fred.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get wild with Marvin, all these different guys. You don't get wild with Tommy Whitfield. And you definitely, playing with, and then I got opportunities to go out sometimes and play with Kurt Carr. A whole nother animal, that's a whole nother animal. And he's so passionate about his music because he play and he know exactly what it is he want from you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't get wild on guys like that who understand that are seasoned in music. Donnie McKirkland's the same way. They know music and they know where they want it to go. They only let you go so far, then they're gonna be like, come on back in. This is where it needs to be. And right now, some artists are afraid of the musicians. Or I ain't gonna even say that. That's what they need to make their song work.
Yeah.
Ain't no hating on that, That's the culture, and that's where it is. And I like it because it's a different approach to music. As long as they get the understanding of playing organized music along with that kind of aggression and make it work. My day, you couldn't do all of that.
Yeah.
Until it was time to let go.
Right.
You know what? That makes me think of something I heard years ago. I was out. I went to see Marcus Miller, and I was hanging out. I was hanging out with a friend of mine, one of my best female friends at the time. We went to see Marcus, hanging out, and Skeeter was there. And after the gig, they wanted to. He came out. Anybody know how to get down? I can't remember what restaurant it was, and I knew how to get down there, so I was invited to the party. So I'm sitting at the table. We with Marcus Miller's whole band. I think Everett Harp wasn't there, but the whole band was there. It was so many of us. We had 2 tables. Skeeter was at the table with Marcus Miller. I'm at the table with Bernard Wright. And he says something that you reminded me of, and what you were just saying. He was talking about sometimes when you're playing with other musicians, he said, the music is so crowded. He said the best thing you could do as a musician is not play. And it's just that takes a certain level of maturity,
discipline for sure.
As a musician, a seasoned musician, where anybody else who's unseasoned, everybody in there playing, you finna get in there and do your chops too. And it reminded me of something Jeff used to say. Your brother, Jeff said, don't put all your cookies on the table.
Right.
And those are seasoned musicians, whereas young musicians who are not seasoned, you putting all your chops out there, you're not being very musical. A seasoned musical musician will play what's needed, what the song needs. He's not overplaying and stuff like that, or unless, like you said, it calls for that. It just reminded me that he was, because I remember I'm sitting there and I'm listening. I'm like, wow, this guy's a professional musician. And he was like, the most musical thing I could do was not play.
Yeah. And so when I played with Bernard, right, it's funny you brought him up. I did sessions with him. He flew me into Texas it was just me and him. We did one of his records, and the records was built around me and him. All we did was just me, him, and Dorian. We was in Texas, and we were just playing. I mean, me and him just going for hours, just playing music. And what he would do is take what I play and chop it up and turn it into records and turn it into songs. Bernard Wright was amazing. My first time meeting him, I met him in California, and because we needed somebody to play the bass. He came out with a bass, and we were like, you don't know the songs. And he was playing it on the bass, but it wasn't successful. He said, let me play it my way. Pulls out a D50, stick a card into the D50 keyboard. It was curtains from then on. Me and him had a chemistry between the way me and him played, because he played the key bass the whole concert. We did that when we went to Japan, Tokyo, Japan, and we did concerts over there, and it was me and Bernard, and it was an amazing experience I ever had playing the drums with a key bass player. No, I mean, I did it with Kern, but Bernard Wright, man, he just took me somewhere else when it comes to my ability with having a conversation. And so I learned that from a young dude, that way of speaking on the drum. Marquise, he was telling me it's about having conversations. I was like, oh, okay, I'll take that from you. I'll give you credit one time, but everything else in there is going to be done. So, it was like you're saying, a young person is just like a young person or a person in general, period, who don't know how to wait until somebody is done talking.
Yeah.
Constantly interrupting and constantly talking while somebody else is talking. Bad conversation. Those are the kind of conversations you see a lot on stage. You see a lot of those on stage because people are not being taught how to have a conversation. And once we learn how to talk together on the stage, then the conversation will be a pleasant conversation from start to finish, because nobody is trying to overtalk the other person to get their point out.
Well said, brother.
Yeah.
Well said. Hey, I know there's some other things that you've been doing. I know you've been doing production and all of that, but
yeah,
this.
Oh, you really did that, didn't you? Aha.
Yes, sir. So you got
Aha.
to tell us a little bit about your book. But before you do that, man, I went and purchased it. And when I purchased it, I was like, wow, this is, I'm telling you, every musician needs this book. And I'm not saying that even if you didn't write it, I just think every musician needs to read this book because it talks about things that we all deal with. And it was just something in here. I got to read it. This quote that you put in here. It says, irrational thinking brings irrational decisions, and irrational decisions will always cause us to compromise. Yeah. I just thought that was profound.
Yeah. Me saying that was dealing with me being impatient. Matthew 6:33 said, take no thought. 6:31 says, take no thought for what you're going to wear. That's where I was because I had low self-esteem. On top of having low self-esteem, I was making bad decisions. And so sometimes we've been raised in church, so we hear scriptures over and over and over, and they never register to us.
Yeah.
Until we get to a place where, okay, let me really see what this is talking about. It took me writing that book for me to understand. It took me having kids to understand as well. Stop moving so fast. When you move fast, you move out of place. And when you move out of place, you're going to compromise your integrity when it comes to your desperation for money, your desperation for things, your desperation for affirmation, validation. You'll find yourself compromising your integrity. You'll be willing to sell your birthright to eat. And as a musician, because I didn't have the discipline I needed or the stability I needed along with the discipline, I needed to just learn how to just sit and wait and chill. I was always irrational in everything I did. Conversations, I was interrupting conversations. I remember I had a conversation with Kenny Rogers. Me, like we sitting like y'all sitting next to each other. That was me and Kenny Rogers. I'm excited and a geek, but he was talking and I kept just jamming him with stuff, just like, oh, dude, you're moving too fast. Slow down. You're talking too much. That's how I was in everything I was doing. From music, no matter how many doors were opening for me, I was still moving fast because I was never satisfied. And so because I was never satisfied, I was making bad decisions with my money. And that's what that book is about. Being insecure, having no discipline when it comes to finances, having no discipline when it came to building me, the man, as far as my intellect, things I needed, as well as spiritually. And so I was always moving fast. I was always moving out of the pocket. And, we call it something told me, but it was God saying, sit still and wait here. And because I didn't sit still and wait there, because of my need, which is the lust of the eye, right. That whole, the big bad three, the lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, and the pride of life, they kept getting in the way. And because God was saying, stay right here, I couldn't wait on him because I had my own ability, and my ability was allowing me to be successful but it was taking time away from me for what I needed to do to prepare for my journey. There was a process I was supposed to follow, and because I was irrational, now it's taking me this time now to enjoy the process. But if I would have sat there then and waited, and enjoyed that process, I wouldn't have been, I'd be so much further than where I am now. And so I was irrational in my moves because I didn't know how to wait. I didn't have faith in God. I was raised in church and still didn't know God. Yeah. So all of that irrational thinking and compromising where you are came from me not having a relationship with God. I knew God's name. I mean, we all was raised in the same church, so you know how that go.
Right.
I knew his name, but I didn't know him. And so because of that, I was moving irrationally. I can't count no money that I made on the road. I've been on the road and I know I made tons of money and I don't have nothing to show for it because I was always moving irrationally. Got cars repossessed, bought all these clothes. We used to dress up to go skating like we was going to the Grammy.
Right. Right.
So all my money was spent there, all my money was spent because I had low self-esteem. I was always going to the gas station eating, not eating real food. I was going to Greg's Pizza, Wendy's, just spending my money. I was reckless with everything I did. Every decision I made was reckless. And it was all because I didn't know how to wait. And so all you musicians or people out there in general, learn how to wait.
Yeah.
Get somebody who can teach you what you need to have when it comes to discipline. They may have been around me, the people that was trying to give it to me, but it was too late because the voice of my need was louder than the voice of reason.
Wow.
That's a powerful statement.
It is. Yeah.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Look, I have a question. Actually, it's going back a little bit.
Yeah.
Who were some of your inspirations as drummers?
Bill Maxwell and Joel Smith.
Okay. I thought I could have guessed Joel Smith. I think you've said that to me before. I could have guessed Joel Smith.
Those were the only two. I like Steve Gadd. My friend Gerald Hayward turned me on to Steve Gadd. Marvin McQuitty turned me on to Dave Weckl. So my go-to guys was Bill Maxwell and Joel Smith.
Okay.
That's where my sound came from. Along with my brothers playing with them, that was a sound that was there. That was that Detroit sound. But then as I got on the road, I got exposed to Bill Maxwell, hanging out with Joel Smith, and him telling me all kind of ways to approach the drums. And I was like, no, I can't do that. When I should have listened to him because I'd be so much further because he was giving me a whole lot of nuggets, But those two guys right there was my go-to guys when it comes to the Dana Davis sound, along with playing congas. Those three right there.
Who was it taught you how to play conga? Because I remember
this guy named LeBaron.
You taught me, but I remember you talking about the guy that taught you. Who was it?
Yeah, this guy named LeBaron. Amazing conga player. He taught me all the techniques of congas, but then he taught me how to cuff the conga to get a certain sound, a pop. So along with that, I had drum fills and I had conga fills I was able to apply on the congas. And because I knew my space as a conga player, how not to interact, or how I knew how to interact with a drummer. So that's key too as a conga player or percussionist, how to have an intelligent conversation with the drummer and y'all not getting in each other's way. And so, but Bill Maxwell, Joel Smith was my go-to guys with drums.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, who do you like listening to now as far as
everybody?
Everybody's good.
Everybody, man. I mean, I can go to listen to Spanky, listen to Calvin Rogers, or go back to Bill Maxwell or Joel Smith. It's just so many drummers out there. I can go to Chris Coleman. Yeah. I can go to Chris Dave. I can go to Jay Drew. Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's some young drummers out here in the city. J-Mo. It's just some killer drummers out here. And I don't know everybody's name. Kenny Brooks.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, they all bring something to the Nate, play at church with me, Nate Wynn. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
It's just so many drummers out here, you know.
Right.
But with a Ghost Notes,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's an endless list. I listen to everybody because everybody have a conversation. I was talking to my nephew one time, and he brought something interesting to me, and I saw approaching everybody I listen to. I was
Mhm.
like, "Who do you think is better?" He's like, "It ain't no such thing as somebody being better than the other. They just different,
Right. Oh, that's
you
yeah.
know."
That's
So it ain't no such thing of you being better than Derek on the keys. Y'all just different.
right. Right.
Y'all say the same thing. Y'all just say it in a different way.
Mm.
And so that's how I approach every drummer now and everybody I listen to. It's different. It's something that I can add to who I am that enhances my conversation as a drummer as well as a keyboardist.
Good
Yeah.
wisdom, man. Good wisdom.
Now, as a drummer, I mean, I just thought about this while you're talking. A lot of drummers play bass. How
Yeah.
how did you not end up playing bass?
I
And what
did.
make, oh, did you?
Yeah. I
I,
did play bass.
I,
You know,
I just didn't.
virtuoso.
I didn't know you played bass.
Yeah, I did. I got one in the basement. I just didn't follow through on it because it hurt. The process, of stretching and the exercising. I wish I would have followed through on it and stuck with it because I understand drums, I understand transitions, I understand how to have conversations with a keyboardist, or organist. I know how to have conversations on stage. I wish I would have followed through on it, but I didn't. But yeah, I do play bass.
Okay.
Like I do sessions now. So when I'm doing my demo work and I have Al Turner do some of my bass work, um, I would send him what I want the song to sound like, and then let him do his thing. He was like, "Man, you actually don't need me on the bass because your bass is like a bass player
Mm.
because I play it on the key bass as if how a bass player would actually play the song." So yes, I still play bass, but I just play Bernard Wright's version of bass, key bass. Yeah.
What's up? Now, do your kids play anything? Are they musicians or anything?
Yeah, they play Xbox and they play um um my son, one of my sons, he's in the band at school, he playing trumpet, but
Okay.
he brings the trumpet home and he never plays it. But he plays trumpet, and I have another one that plays drums.
Mhm.
I think my downfall is I'm not pushing them.
Yeah.
I should push them so that they can get it in them, but I want them to like it and I want them to want it like I wanted it. And so I think they have so many other things that's pulling at them
Yeah.
versus what we had. Back in our day, you didn't have
Yeah,
electronics.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
right.
Right.
So all you had was either go outside and play, or if you had a musical family, you can go play on the instruments.
Right. Yeah.
And so, although they are exposed to it, they come in the studio and they figure out sounds on the piano and they don't pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to push it on them. I should because it's in them,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't yet. But one play drums, one is playing trumpet. They both touch at the piano every now and again. Another one picked up my acoustic guitar and was pulling on the strings, so I had to take that from him. um, so yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's in them. I mean, their mom is musically inclined too because we're part of the Murphys. So their mom is a part of the Murphys, and then my family is Davis, and so music is in their DNA.
The Murphys, like William Murphy?
Yes,
I didn't
really.
know
I
that.
didn't know that either.
her mother is one of the daughters of Grandpa Murphy.
From Great Ebenezer?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I
Wow.
did not know
Wow.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Did
And
not
so
know that.
her family is musically inclined. Her mom sing, her dad sing, her sisters can sing, and her brother play drums. And so it's in my son's DNA. They can't get
Yeah.
away from
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it. When they're ready, they'll come to it.
Right. That sounds like me and my son. We didn't have a drummer at our church, so what I did was like, okay, I'm gonna show you just play pocket, straight
Right.
beat, just do that. I need some time in. So he graduated to that and started doing a little bit more. Then, like you said, after a while, he started growing up and then everything else started coming along. Then it was like, okay,
Yeah,
moving on.
Xbox. My son is
Right.
my youngest son is in the Xbox and playing football.
Yeah.
The other one is into science.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nothing about music. Yeah. Yeah.
So then, what anything coming down the pipe? Anything
Yes,
you
I
want?
am writing another book.
Okay.
The title is Despising Small Beginnings.
Okay.
The small beginnings is this book is talking about your process, embracing the process. When you think about everything that was created or is going to become something big, it starts with a seed.
Mm-hmm.
And that seed has a process before it can go into whatever it's going to be. It was even with Jesus, it's even with God when he came to creating the world. He said, in the beginning, there was a beginning.
Right.
So to everything big, there is a beginning, and then there is a process.
Right.
It's the seed, the spoken word, the seed you're speaking, then the process goes from there. And so that's what the book is going to be about, embracing the journey. There's so many things you get to see on the journey that you wouldn't see if you was in a rush to get straight to what it is you're wanting. But until we learn how to enjoy the process, we will never know how to go through the valley.
Yeah. And that's something that you say that because it reminds me of sometimes when I'm driving, I don't pay attention to everything that's around me. But when my wife is driving, then I'll be like, oh, I didn't know that was over there. You know what I'm saying? Because now you don't have to concentrate so much on just going through, like you said, just going through.
That's
Now
good.
I can actually see, like, wow, that's over there. I didn't know they
I
had.
can't do that with my wife. She be too busy having road rage, man.
Like, slow down, girl.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's what the book is about. Getting more opportunities to speak in schools, to speak to young people, which I'm having fun doing that, and talk to Derek about that, And so those are things that's coming down the pipeline. I am working on another smooth jazz record. Got to get it out.
Okay.
So that's gonna be sweet.
Yeah.
So organizing, prioritizing my world where I can make everything happen. I want to do a drum album, a smooth jazz record, then I want to do a straight ahead album.
Okay.
I want to do a praise and worship album, because I've been given the ability to do a lot of writing, write different genres. So I want to kind of tap into them all.
Okay. Sweet.
All right, that goes along with what along the lines of what I wanted to ask you. As being a musician, like all of us are coming up in the church, and then seeing, over the years, some of us are still in the church, some of us are not, some of us are playing in different environments. You got the pull to go one way or the other. What advice would you give the young musicians that are coming up? Because we see them, man. You see cats out here, and some of us are still in the faith. Some of us are kind of in, kind of out. Some of us ain't in at all. And, what advice would you give?
Well, me coming up playing with the Winans, I had opportunity to play with Guy. I had an opportunity to play with what's her name, Aaliyah. That was an endless list of people. I had an opportunity to even play with Earl Clue. But because of the way I was raised, there was this conviction that came because of the fears and the traditions others followed. Because I didn't take the time to know who God was for myself, I allowed the people that influenced me to put their conviction on me. What I would say to young people is get your own mind, get your own identity, know who you are as a person, get around seasoned men. And you can help me with this, attorney, if I'm saying this wrong. Young men dream dreams, right?
Yeah. Old men see vision. Yeah.
So there's a reason for that in there. A lot of the younger musicians need to put themselves around seasoned guys who've been where they're going. and soften their heart and make sure they are in a place where they're teachable, to listen to the seasoned guys, because the seasoned guys can prepare you for where you're going if you don't know the business, to how you carry yourself when it comes to your character. So your gift can get you places that your character can't keep you. You get around seasoned guys, they'll show you how to stay in those places by how you carry yourself in those particular areas or those different platforms that you get introduced to play. I would tell them to know God for themselves, get into the word. Don't ignore when God said he do send teachers and people to teach you. Embrace that. But not just embrace that, but you have to do something yourself, and that's study. So whatever genre of music you get in there, learn it. Understand the artist you playing for, knowing what it takes to make them say, I want to keep this guy or girl, or this person, if you will. Study your craft. Learn everything you can about your craft. Don't just learn one genre of music. Make yourself valuable so you can adapt to every situation you get introduced to. Learn how to read, as well as learn how to play read, as learn as well as play by ear. Being in church, we were forced to do that, to play by ear before even reading.
Right.
What we didn't get is the practical side of life, and the balance between the spiritual and the practical. And right now, we have a lot of church musicians who are, man, please, I hope I don't get shot for this. Because they're only connected to musicians who've been hurt because of decisions they made, that forced the hand sometimes of the boss or the employer, who we call the pastor, to make decisions they have to make. Those guys' hearts are hard, and they're hurt. And so they get access to those younger guys first. Then the guy who say, hey, don't go this route, go that route. And so you got a lot of musicians who are influenced by people who are kind of like confusing what this should look like. So, we got a lot of people saying, hey, live for God. Then in that same breath, they doing everything that's contrary to the way God say live.
Right.
So now you're confusing this young musician, like, so you saying I can live like this and still do my music? And so you're messing with the integrity side of who you are when it comes to you as a person. But then when it comes to you as the musician, you got to put the time in. You got to practice. You can't just come in there winging it. You know what I'm saying? And so now I think church has done a disservice to us, or musicians, because they allow them to come in there winging it. They don't respect the music. So they take that same mindset, and the clubs don't help. Playing in the clubs, you can wing it. You ain't got to know the music. It don't have to be perfect. So you're steady stacking bad habits, if I can say it that way. Your behavior is just like totally contrary to what it should be when it comes to perfection, And so I say to young people and young musicians, get around seasoned men or seasoned people who understand the game, from the business side to the technical side to the skill side. If you want to be successful, and allow them to challenge you in areas you need to be challenged in as musicians, from the spiritual side to the natural side of living, to the practical side of living. That's my take on that.
There you go. Well said, brother.
Very well
great.
said.
Yeah. Well said. Dana, it's a pleasure, man.
Yes.
To be able to sit down and actually talk to you, and just to get this side of it, And I know you still a humble brother. It is funny because, like when I see you, people are always trying to be around you. They want to be cool.
No, they not.
Oh, yeah, they are, Dana. People want to know who you are. So it's funny, dude. I've been out of town. I've been to different states, and it's funny if I'm playing around somebody and they find out I'm from Detroit. One of the questions they ask is, do you know who Dana Davis is? I've been to several states, and I'm like, yeah, I know who he is. So yeah, you definitely appreciated and well known around the country for sure, bro.
That's what's up. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate that. I think your gift will make room for you.
Yeah,
and because I am a spiritual guy, I do understand that God said he will make your name great. So when you move irrationally trying to make your name great, you're going to compromise your integrity.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so instead of waiting on God to make your name great, you're doing everything. You're stepping on toes, you're hurting people, you're manipulating people, you're not doing what it takes to really get where you need to be, and you move too fast, you get too much, and then you don't never learn the lesson. Because you're storing up so much information, you're getting too much information too fast and processing all of that information, and you don't have it in its right perspective or in its right place at time in your life, you can mess up and move outside of where you're supposed to be because you got a whole bunch of head knowledge. You got more head knowledge than you do experience. And then you move too fast. And so that's why I say to young guys, stay around some seasoned guys who are going to tell you when you're wrong and when you're right. That's going to talk to you and not at you. You know, my son, you know, me and him had a little, I was going over his spelling words with him yesterday. And I was like, you keep spelling the word wrong, but he kept challenging me. I'm like, stop challenging me. I got the paper in front of me. You spelling the word wrong. Then he kept, because he wanted to go do what he wanted to do instead of know the word the right way. So I gave him the paper back and he left. I was like, you see, he's like, I did spell. I was like, no, you didn't. He left. Then he came back and I was like, why are you crying? He's like, because you keep pushing me. And so with today, what I see with the millennials sometimes, they don't like to be pushed. They don't like to be challenged sometimes. And when you push them, they put this wall up because I don't know if they feel their voice is being attacked and what they're saying don't have no value. It carries weight. But when you're around somebody who have experience at where you're going, I think sometimes they should listen and not talk. And so that's what I was telling my son, you know, you're busy talking when you should have been listening to what I was saying. And now you're upset because somebody is pushing you, that you feel you're being pushed when you're not being pushed. You're just being challenged to take your time and look at what you're talking about, you know, and listen to somebody who have the experience and where you're going. Yeah.
That's a mouthful right there. You could use that in so many other ways.
Yes, sir.
For sure. Well, brother, listen, I thank you once again, man, for taking out the time, man, to sit down with us and chat it up with us and just share your wisdom. I mean, dropping nuggets all over the place, man.
All over the place.
I'm looking forward to your next project.
Oh, yeah.
Projects that's coming up for sure. And
yes.
So
yes.
Keep us posted.
Yes, I'll be doing something. Also, I got a men's movement that I have called The Reach. And it brings men together. You know, it's an environment where men are not judged, but they loved, you know. Whatever you're dealing with, bring it on. And it's all about a fellowship of men coming together, and we just fellowship. Nobody talking for 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's just a 5-minute something. And it's you sitting next to that dude and being transparent and nobody judging. So it's allowed a space for men to be able to come that they can let go and just relax and don't have to put their guard up.
Oh, that's what's up.
So I'm gonna be putting on one of those events this summer, and we're gonna go from there with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, keep us posted, man, for sure.
Yes.
We'll always listen. Everybody, thank you for joining us today on another episode of Chop Talk. And musicians, singers, producers, if you don't have this book, you got to go out and get it. I'm telling you, it'll speak to you. It's inspirational for sure. So thanks again, Dana.
Guys.
All right. Love you, bro.
I love you, man. Peace.
All right.
Yeah.